Yay! Here I am. Hi. If you are here on the stream, if you could do me a favor and in the chat, let me know if you can hear me okay before I get started. I think the people who will end up watching this stream know me really well at this point, but if you don't, my name is Denisse. I used to go by Sugar and Spice. I'll still answer to that every now and then. And I am an Akashic Records practitioner and the founder of Mercurious Arts and Divinations, which is basically an online safe space for people to dive into their spirituality and namely the Akashic Records and a couple other cool stuff. Samantha, yes, I can hear well. Awesome. All right, cool. Denisse, I took your Akashic class in 2020 and I was thinking about dragons and you this past week. How timely. Okay, yes, that's a perfect segue for what I'm about to talk about because the dragons are something that have been a really big part of my spiritual awakening since I would say the beginning. I would even dare say they are almost simultaneous with the Akashic Records. I feel like the Akashic Records were my vehicle to the dragon frequency. Had it not been for the intense purification that I went through with the Akashic Records, I don't think I would have found maybe I would have found my way to the dragon frequencies, but I definitely wouldn't have had the power to sustain the dragon frequency. And so what I want to talk to you guys about today is how it all happened. Is just how the birth of the dragon woman in me came about because it's a good story. And like any good story, it's going to start with once upon a time. No, it's not. But I'm actually just going to start in the middle because I want to get to the meat of it. I think one of the most major initiations I ever went through that led me to the dragon frequency happened in Egypt. I was in Alexandria, Egypt, and I had a dream. Now, I've talked about this before in some of my other videos, but I'll reiterate it now. So a very common occurrence for me is that I'll dream in sound. I don't dream in images. So in this dream, everything was white. I couldn't determine where the white space started and I ended, and vice versa. Everything was white. I didn't see anything. But I heard what seemed like thousands of voices. And they were all speaking at the same time, but they were speaking as one big unified voice. And circles, like overlapping circles, started to appear in the dream. They were still white, but I could make out the shapes. And the voice started singing, and it started to tell me various instructions and next steps for me while I was in Alexandria. They were like, do this, don't do that, don't listen to this person, do this. But what struck me the most was those voices told me, you're being initiated into the spheres of music. Everything's going to change now. And I didn't really know what the spheres of music were at the time. I still don't 100% know, but I think it has something to do with the seraphim. So this happened in Alexandria, Egypt. The next day, I woke up and I felt normal. But at the same time, I felt pregnant almost. Like I felt this thing moving around inside of me. I felt there was something alive inside me that was not there, or at least wasn't there in a way that I could have previously perceived inside me. And I didn't really know what to do about it. But came home from Egypt, did my recovery process because that was a really tough time in my spirituality. And I kind of forgot about it. I forgot about the dream. Nothing happened right away. But later on that same year, I think this was 2021, I started to sing. And I would start to sing spontaneously in moments when I was just spacing out, like, on long drives. Most of the time, this would happen on really long drives. Um, I'd be cruising, vibing, and I wouldn't have the radio on, but this energy that started feeling alive inside me would just kinda start rising through my throat, and it would just make noises. And it would happen so spontaneously that I finally decided to take control of it, and I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do what I do best. I'm gonna talk to it." So I asked it, I was like, "I wanna know what my soul sounds like." And I took a deep breath, and I didn't know what was going to come out, but one of the saddest sounds I'd ever heard came out of me that day, and it was so profoundly lonely and tragic. It just sounded like a really intense longing for something that was just out of its reach. And I had never heard that before and I had never felt that feeling before from anything or anyone. And that's when I knew that sound was a really powerful technology of self-reflection and of manifestation. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do with it, but that's when I started experimenting. I started experimenting with what sound and the noises that my body made could tell me about the truth and the stories that I didn't have access to otherwise at the time. I was such and listen, 2021, I was knee deep in my spirituality. I've been a spiritual practitioner since 2018 full time. So in 2021, I would not have considered myself a beginner. But even then, I was so committed to my ascension practices that certain things were out of my reach. Certain stories that my body carried, I couldn't listen to properly. I just didn't have those techniques, those tools until sound came into the picture. So it was through sound that I recognized a different aspect of wisdom, a different level of intelligence that I hadn't been privy to in the past. Um, I think that was my first instance of understanding what the dragon heart song was. Along the path of my spirituality, I kept hearing the song, the siren song, the blank song. This song is for this song is for that. On Saturdays, we practice the song. On Sundays, we perform the song. And I was like, I don't understand what the song is. And I finally understood that the song is a metaphor for a specific resonance. And the resonance, I think, all of us really are looking for is the one that's inside us. We keep thinking that enlightenment is out there. We keep thinking that God is out there. We keep thinking that we're out there. And it wasn't until I heard my own songs that I started to realize how much data I was missing as far as my self-awareness goes by not paying attention to noise, to the noises my body was making, to the sound that my soul was trying to make and get my attention. And that's when I knew there are some levels of wisdom that don't require words. In fact, words cheapen the resonance of the transmission. So that was my initiation into the Dragon Heart song. I started realizing all of us are emitting a specific frequency if we're lucky. If we're lucky, we're emitting a specific resonance. But the truth is, a lot of us are really caught up. We're very far away from our own heart song, and we're just regurgitating noises that we've picked up from somewhere. We're just speaking echoes of the past. We're not even getting to the root of our own ideas. We're just blabbing incoherently, I guess. You know, our mind is blabbing one way, our body is saying a different story, and then our heart is a little out of reach. We haven't been taught to listen to it properly. So it was just a mess. Um But that was my first time that I started to understand the dragon heart song that my spirituality was building me up to for years. It's like, oh, it's an actual song. It's a real frequency. It's a real musical note. And it's all mine. I'm the only one that can make this noise. Um so that was I think that was I could mark that as the beginning of my dragon path. My dragon path began in 2019 when I first channeled dragon frequencies because the Akashic Records told me to. At the risk of sounding crazy, at the risk of people not knowing what I was talking about, the records were like, yeah, so in October, you have to introduce the dragons to the public. And I was like, yeah, sure, add it to the calendar, no big deal. I really did not think that it was going to turn into such a profound part of my spiritual journey. I really didn't. But yeah, in Alexandria, Egypt was the first time that I realized how real and deep and alive this dragon path was. I'm gonna cut to, I believe it was either my 26th or 27th birthday in Lake Tahoe. In Lake Tahoe was the first time that I spoke dragon language. And it happened quite spontaneously. So I want to tell you that story because that story was birthed in anger. And anger was something very uncomfortable for me for a long time because anger, I grew up with a narcissistic parent and another loving but absent, frequently absent parent. But it was the anger that I felt most afraid of because I was hurt by excessive force. I was for a long time in a lot of pain because of excessive force and aggression, just so much aggression and violence. And so, because I felt so victimized by it, I was very uncomfortable with anger. So, it was through dragon language that I realized what a disservice that was. In Lake Tahoe, I was visiting my friends. One of them, I think, is here, Alex. Some of you may know her. But I went to go visit them, and the plan was to just have fun. And we did. I did. I had a lot of fun. But something interesting was happening inside me that I couldn't really put into words. And it was this anger. It was just this really intense heat bubbling up at the spine of my back. Hi, Alex. Oh my God, you're here. It was this really intense heat, like constricted heat. It was like vibrating and it was just threatening to break. And it was right at the base of my spine. Now, I know enough about Kundalini awakenings or whatever to assume that that's what it was. I wasn't sure that I was 100% ready, but one thing I'm not going to do is chicken out. So I was like, I may or may not be ready, but whatever is bubbling up inside me right now, I'm willing to look at. I'm just willing to see what it'll do. My friends and I went to go get food. And I know all of this is sounding so boring. It's sounding so ordinary, but that's how it happened. My friends decided to go get food and I decided to wait in the car. I was like, shit, I need a moment alone. And I'm just going to take it. I don't know what's happening inside me, but I know I'm the only one that's going through it and I don't know how to voice it. I don't know how to tell my friends what was happening because I didn't fully understand it, but I could feel something moving in my body that felt like it was a part of me, but at the same time felt unfamiliar. And the burning just got way more intense the closer that we got to our destination. When we got to the food place that we were at, they walked out of the car and something just burst inside of me. I just felt like this constriction, this tension in my spine completely explode and rise into my throat. And it was so uncomfortable. I kept I thought I was going to throw up. I kept resisting it right about like this level. I was like, no, 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 like what is happening? And then I heard the same voice that I heard in my dream in Alexandria, Egypt. And it said, anger is our gift to you. You've been running away from it for such a long time. But this is the blessing we have decided to bestow upon you. And it wasn't said, but I felt like it was implied. It was like, hey, don't mess it up. And I felt the tension and the resistance in me dissolve. And all of a sudden, this really powerful voice started coming out of me. And it was speaking in a language that I had never heard of before. And it was so gnarly. Like, I was scared of it. I was like, oh my God, this voice is just, it's not mine. And it was very interesting because, listen, I'm a channel. I'm a professional Akashic Records channel. Some of you have had the awesome experience of having a trance mediumship session with me where I go to sleep, I channel the Akashic Records, and you have a conversation with them. I wake up and I don't remember it. So channeling is not something that was new to me, but this experience was. The experience of having my vocal resonance turn into a voice that was foreign to me felt scary to me at first. I was like, who is that? And I kept trying to suppress the voice because I was scared to let go. But I didn't really feel like I had a choice. My friends were inside waiting for our food. I was sure that we are going to come back at any moment. And so the voice just started going. It just went, and it just started rapidly firing off these musical notes and these languages. And it would transition from a language that I'd never heard of into Spanish and then into English. And then I would hear some French, and then it would go back into some otherworldly language that I don't have words to describe. And it was all just born out of such an intense heat in my body. And I felt specific memories start to pour out of me as I was speaking. It was like certain memories were repulsed by the words I was speaking, and they just had to leave me. I saw visions of my ex leave me from my heart space, someone I hadn't spoken to, I think, in about 7 years to that date. Images of my mother, images of me playing as a kid. There was just so much happening all at once while this voice was coming out of me. I genuinely feel like it was some sort of exorcism. And the voice kept repeating, it kept saying, anger is our gift to you. You don't understand the shortcut that we're giving you right now, but you don't have the time anymore. Like it's now or never. You have to accept this. And I was like, I'm here. I'm accepting it. Like I just don't understand. So the voice was kind enough to start explaining it, start spelling it out for me. And it told me about how for centuries, women have been systemically separated and divorced from their rage and their anger. I was not immune to that. They taught me the history of feminine rage and how it has been very violently, even by other women, suppressed. And we have learned to internalize the war inside of ourselves because we have learned that it's not safe to be angry, that the world is not receptive to our anger, that it doesn't make a difference, all these things. And so they finally told me, Denisse, you can't access your anger until you make it through shame. And shame builds up when you internalize everything as your fault. Instead of making someone else uncomfortable, you make yourself uncomfortable. And a thick layer, it felt like cement, a thick layer of cement was sitting in my heart. And it was shame. And so the dragon said, we're helping you out. We're giving you back your anger without you having to earn it. We're just going to give it back to you. And we expect you to use it this time. And that's it. And then they were gone. And it felt so fast. It felt like I had lived 1,000 years, but it was only just a few minutes. I would say it was like maximum 10 minutes. My friends came back, they had our food, and I was like, I was just sitting so violently quiet in the back seat. And I'm a Gemini. Alex knows. Andrea knows. Hi, Andrea. I don't shut up. But I was so silent on the car ride back. And I was so thankful that we ended up not going directly home where the rest of our friends were waiting for us. Instead, we went to go check out the sunset at the lake. And I was already halfway gaslighting myself. I was already like, that was weird, but maybe it's not as serious as I think it is. It felt really powerful, but maybe it just won't happen again. When we got to the lake, there was a perfect shape of a circle of clouds surrounding the Lake Tahoe. And when we got there, I noticed that every individual cloud was split into the shape of an individual dragon, one following the other in a circular procession. This happened on the day of my birthday. And I couldn't help but feel like that was for me. I couldn't help but feel like I earned that moment. And at the same time, I was terrified of what that meant. I didn't say anything, but I started to hear the voices again. And I started to hear them louder. And then I started to hear drums and like an accompanying heartbeat coming from under the ground. And I wasn't articulating any of this. I was just standing there in awe with tears streaming down my face. When one of the people that was next to me, she turned around, she was like, "You know that this is for you, right?" And I felt like, I won't speak for Alex. She was one of the people that was there. I won't speak for Alex. But I know that the other one with me, she looked at me and she was like, "Okay, everything's going to change from now on, isn't it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think it is." So it was in Lake Tahoe that I was initiated into dragon light language. At the time, I didn't know that that's what it was. And even now, I feel like light language is an overgeneralization for the kind of flow that was coming out of me. But that's what I chose to call it, was dragon light language. It was later confirmed by another friend who's a spiritual practitioner who was like, "Hey, I want to teach a light language workshop through Mercurious." And I was like, shut up. There's, girl, what? There's no way. This might be a good time to real quick pause and go back to the beginning of my Akashic journey. I think a month, maybe two, into my Akashic Records journey, they were like, "Yeah, you need to learn energy work." And I was like, "Nah, I'm good." They were like, "No, yeah, you have to. It's a thing." I was like, "Well, why?" And the Akashic Records were like, "Well, let's put it this way. It's better to have a skill and not need it than to need it and not have it." I was like, "Okay, fine." But I did not resonate with Reiki. Like, I did not get it. I felt really dumb. I was like, I don't feel anything. What do I do with my hands? Like, it's not clicking. Everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Everything changed when the records were like, "No, no, no, no. No. Misunderstanding, babe. Don't learn Reiki. Learn dragon energy work." I was like, "Okay, don't know what that is, but you have my attention." So even back then, my Akashic practice, my energy work healing practice, and now my light language practice have always been centered around the dragon frequencies. And through that light language course, I was able to understand a little bit about exactly why the spheres of music, the dragon heart song, and language, um, being able to channel frequencies in their raw form was starting to become important. Like anything else, I received really high level spiritual transmissions, and then that was it. And it's my job to figure out what that means for my human experience. So I was able to sustain the energy, and I could tell that everything was changing for me, but I didn't really know how. I didn't really know why. And I think that was the biggest question for me, was why? Why now? Why so urgently? And why anger? Let me tell you something. The name of my business, Mercurious Arts and Divinations, the acronym is MAD with a double A. I did not do that intentionally, but I knew that anger was about to become a very big part of my spiritual journey. And maybe it should have always been, and I just didn't have access to it before. How are we doing so far? Are you guys following me? Has anybody else dreamt of the spheres of music? Or has channeled music? LOL, mad, didn't realize that. Yeah, Mercurious Arts and Divinations, the acronym is MAD. I didn't realize that until the dragons told me. They were like, anger is your gift. Your legacy of love on this earth will be anger. Which is kind of not what you would think your spiritual purpose would consist of, that your legacy of love. I don't know what I thought that it would be, but I really didn't think that it'd be anger. I thought it'd be like teachings or something. I didn't think it'd be a feeling. But all right. So the big moment. The major moment that clicked everything for me together came years after the Lake Tahoe ceremony. It came 2 years actually later, and I was sitting at a vortex in Sedona, and a lot of my grid work journey has been rooted in Sedona. I am her child. Like, I am, like, that is when she needs me, come hell or high water, I end up there. And I was sitting in a vortex in Sedona, surrounded by people who I considered my closest friends at the time. And we were singing. We were meditating. Some of us were going through it more than others, but we were just enjoying our own direct revelations together in the space. This was in the mountain, in the desert. The wind shifted. The wind shifted for me, and I felt a density to it that wasn't previously in the breeze that was moving through me. I knew something was there. I couldn't tell if anyone else could feel it, but it felt like it was for me. And again, I didn't see anything. I just felt the energy shift into something heavier. And then the voice came. And when I say the voice, I mean the thousands of voices that sound like one voice. So the voice came. And it almost felt confrontational. It almost felt like it was challenging me. Like it was like, pushing me off the edge. And I literally was on the edge of a cliff, so it really could have easily happened. I knew it wouldn't, but that's what it felt like. And it felt pushy. And it was just kind of like, are you willing to sacrifice every single one of these people here? And I was like, what? It was like, are you willing to sacrifice every single person that is surrounding you right now for what we're about to give you? I didn't have to ask what they had to give me. I didn't have to bargain. I had no curiosity whatsoever about what I would receive in exchange for that. I just started grieving. I just started automatically grieving, and I was sobbing, and I opened my eyes and I was looking at all my friends, and all of them had their eyes closed and they were just deep in meditation and stuff and going through their own thing. And I was like, you're going to ask me to do that? These are the best people I've ever known. Why? Why? And I never got the answer. All they did was repeat the question. Are you willing to sacrifice every single person sitting here to receive what we're going to give you? And I said yes. And I hated myself for it. I fell apart in that moment. I fell apart. My nervous system started shaking, like I was vibrating so hard. And I just had tears and tears streaming out of my face. And it felt like blood was going to start coming out of my eyes because they were so raw from the tears. And even though my physical body was going through it, my mind and my spirit had never felt more calm in my entire life. It was this eerie sense of stillness that I just knew everything was going to be more than okay. That I was about to receive a level of clarity that most people train lifetimes for. That most people really work hard to earn. And it was just being handed to me. And so a level of guilt washed over me and I started sobbing. And I was like, why me? I'm a coward. I don't deserve this. I'm sacrificing my friends to some unknown thing in order to receive God knows what. I'm a terrible person. And I was just, listen, y'all, I was going through it. And I wasn't done going through it, but I had a break in between the tears. And I just kind of relaxed and I came back to a place of regulation inside me. And then I heard the voice again. And the voice whispered, it's done. You have it now. Go. Go be the person that you came here to be. I was like, I don't know who that girl is. They were like, you do. You do. And you got to cut the crap. Because you do. And that was it. Does this sound vague to you guys? Imagine how vague it sounded to me. Okay? Like, imagine how completely unclear this felt like to me. So eventually we all move off the mountain, and I immediately know exactly who in my friend group is about to leave. Because I started feeling this gnarly amount of resentment, anger, and violence towards certain people in our circle that night. And we had planned to do our grid work ceremony per usual that we do once a year in Sedona for the spring equinox. And I was channeling my ass off. Like, I was telling people, I was like, I know exactly what's going to come for the next 10 to 12 years. Like, I got this. Like, I know water is the next initiation. And water is going to be, we're going to be at the mercy of water. Literally and figuratively. We're going to be at the mercy of our ability to feel. We're going to be at the mercy of our ability to feel. If we have a lot of capacity to feel, we're going to coast through the next decade or so. But most of us don't. And our system isn't built for feelings. It's built for thoughts and ideas, but it's not built for feelings. And I was like, people in the West have been so emotionally constipated for such a long time. A lot of us are not going to make it through this initiation. That night, the river started to flood. We couldn't start ceremony because it was raining so hard. Sedona's a desert, y'all. and it was flooding. And I couldn't have been happier. I just felt such a promise coming down from the sky. And when we finally got around to starting a fire, when Sedona allowed it, and we started a fire, something shifted inside me. I was looking at some of the people in the circle, realizing how deeply poisonous their presence was in my life. Something that I wasn't able to perceive hours before that. Hours before that, I couldn't see it. I thought they were the best people ever. But this new thing inside me had different ideas about the kind of people I belonged with. And it had reasons that were so valid that I, in my human self, couldn't perceive it. I had to grow into agreement with these energies. But at the time, I remember feeling a deep, profound sense of anger and resentment. And it wasn't just towards these people. It was more of like a background noise. It was more of just like a default state of being. I wasn't mad at anything or anyone in particular as much as I was pissed. It was just sitting there inside me, and it was growing, and it started moving. And then when I felt like I was about to be consumed, I got up and I stood in front of the fire. And the fire felt less intense than the fire that was eating at me inside. So in fact, I was quite comfortable standing so close to the fire, and I started speaking. And when I spoke, something came out of my mouth that I could feel deeply disturbed certain people that were in attendance. And I said, I was born for this. I know exactly what to do. I know exactly who I am now, and I'm ready to transition from being God's child into God's wife. I am ready to see myself as an equal to God. In fact, if I were God, I would have chosen me for this mission too. That's how certain I am that I'm the only person that can birth the Dragon Woman Atelier. And I could feel how uncomfortable that made certain people. But I could also feel it light up others who were also there. And I repeated it over and over again the whole night. I said, if I were God, I would have chosen me for this job too. There's nobody on this earth that can do this like me. And that's how the dragons used anger as a vehicle to trigger what my life purpose was. For a long time, from the entirety of my spiritual career, I've been a channel for the Akashic Records. I've been their voice. The Dragon Woman Atelier is the first time that it's my voice, it's my heart song coming to the front. The Dragon Woman Atelier is an incubator for the dragon that is gnawing at you from the inside. And your relationship to that inner dragon, that monster, that prolific, gnarly beast that just always happens to jump out at the most critical moments, at the worst moments. Your relationship to that monster that you created because of the circumstances that we're living in is the most important relationship you will ever know. That monster, that demon inside you, that prolific, mythic beast that renders you useless because you don't know how to handle it, that is your spiritual path. That's your God. We've been completely bamboozled, reaching for a God that we think everyone knows, that we think everyone has a consistent message of. But my mission is to reconnect you to your God. Your emotions are not an obstruction to your truth. They are your truth. I came home from Sedona after all that, knowing who was going to stay and who was going to go, and knowing exactly who was going to celebrate the empowered version of me and who was going to try their best to suppress it. Because suppressed women suppress other women. A lot of the violence that I've been subjected to is because of misplaced jealousy. It's because people don't have the skill to make jealousy work for them. It's just unskilled emotional labor. It's skilled emotional workings that are just spilling over the place. And I'm here to clean that shit up. Because collapsing, bestie, is not vulnerability. It's just unskilled emotional work. Your energy spilling out all over the place. I came here to help you get the skills to repair the relationship with that inner prolific beast so that instead of being a prisoner, instead of being a princess in a tower wrapped up by that dragon becomes your ally in this life. You can do whatever the hell you want when you walk with dragons. No man-made law can stop you when you have molded yourself according to universal law, according to eternal laws of life. Man-made laws, that shit just do not apply to you anymore. You make your own law. You become an ungovernable force of creation and destruction. And I have it on good authority that for the next 10 to 12 years at least, feminine rage is the main character. If your relationship to your rage is not sustainable, it's not healthy, bestie, you are going to have a very difficult time navigating the inner revolution that's starting to come out. When I came home from Sedona, I sat in my anger, and that intense heat that I told you guys that happened the year before, that intense heat that was sitting in my spine, yeah, that intense heat exploded and it was everywhere. And I just felt like I was walking around like lava. I just felt like every word that was coming out of my mouth was important and it was precious and it was necessary for me to say it. Which brings me back to the Dragon Heart song. Dragons rely on sound, on frequency, on resonance to identify other dragons. The more fear and shame filter my self-expression, the more I attract misaligned connections, people who do not belong with me. People who want to be with me but don't actually have the tools to be with me. The more I filter my self-expression because I want to be pleasant, because I want to be professional, hell, because I want to be a good person, whatever it is, the more fucked up my heart song sounds. It doesn't sound like music anymore. It starts to sound sad again. It starts to sound tragic, like something fell from a really high place. So I had to learn. Even now, being on camera, I do not really like being on camera. But I'm telling this story because I want this Dragon Heart song to find other Dragon Heart songs. And I want to tell you guys a little bit about dragons and how you can start to tell whether this is part of your path or not, because you don't know what you don't know. But once you start recognizing the similarities in women's life paths, you can't unsee the dragons. So I want to tell you guys a little bit about that. The dragon initiations are always inside you. That's the number one thing I want to say. The dragon is represented by the Ouroboros, a dragon eating, or a snake eating its own tail. Okay, that means that your spiritual path is about self-consumption. The more of your own story you consume, the more of your own energy you generate and then eat and digest, that's your spiritual path. Your spiritual path is not in a book. It's not in a certification online. It's not out there. Your strongest and most powerful initiations are the ones that you have when you confront the epic beast inside you, the one that even you're scared of. And I know that you're scared of it because you don't want to feel it anymore. Maybe you kind of feel your feelings, but you're not open to feeling the intensity that comes with loss, that comes with grief, that comes with ecstatic pleasure. Realistically, humanity is just now preparing to get to that point and accept that as part of our human experience, as part of our necessary human evolution. So that's the first thing. If you are a dragon initiate, you were born and raised alone. Because dragons are born and raised alone. They don't hatch in mama's lap out of their little egg. From what I know of dragons, the egg is dropped off somewhere safe, and mama dragon's like, all right, well, see you when I see you. So if you feel like you've been parentified, if you feel like you had to grow up very quickly because you realize that you low-key were the most competent one, you were the most aware one, even as a young kid in your environment, and so you took on the responsibility of emotionally regulating your caretakers and predicting your environment, predicting behaviors before they happened and became a danger to you, you're most likely a dragon woman. Yep. If you were parentified, you are almost damn sure part of the dragon path. Because dragons are born and raised alone, everything that they learn is through experience. Dragons are incredibly strong. They mess up. They mess up. They hurt people. They step on people. They become cruel. They use excessive force. They don't realize that there are beings who have a thinner skin than they do. They're kind of brutish when they're really young. They're just steamrolling through obstacles. And in a way, that's a good thing. When it comes to accomplishing what you want, you're going to get there. But a young and immature adolescent dragon hasn't mastered the art of relationship. So you cause a lot of damage. And when you cause a lot of damage and people make you aware of it, either because they're punishing you or because they're making you feel like you're not hyper, but like your natural born independence is a threat to them, that's when you decide to renounce your power. If at any point you have decided to renounce your power because somebody made you feel that it was wrong, because you being powerful, you being direct, you being straightforward, you being ridiculously honest hurt someone's feelings and they decided that you were the bad guy, you're most likely a dragon woman. Another way that this can manifest is that you make a lot of mistakes, and so you decide that you're going to be powerful, but in a community. Like, no. I'm powerful, but like we're powerful together. You go from I am to we are. And bestie, that is not a remedy. That is not the remedy that you think it is. If you are a dragon woman, you came here to be the I am. You came here to be at the center and at the front of every container, every community. You're always going to go first. You're always going to go first, and you're going to be the one that learns the lessons more thoroughly. Why? Because you're the one that carries the responsibility of turning around and multiplying the impact. So if at any point shame holds you back from saying, I am meant to be the leader, I am meant to hold the vision, I am meant to hold the position. The more you want to say, oh, we are, the more you're betraying your nature, the more you're going to hurt people, the less capacity you have to embrace your role in the divine plan, the more shame is going to build up, the more you're accidentally going to hurt people because you're trying to make a dragon out of them. And some people just aren't. Even worse, you're trying to make yourself into a bird when you're a freaking dragon. Just doesn't make sense. Man, if I were God and I was looking at myself a couple years ago, I'd be like, why the hell did I spend so much time on this child if she's just going to do that? If she wanted to be a lap dog, I could have just made her a lap dog. But no, I made her a dragon, and she's over here in a lap dog costume doing lap dog things. Now I'm glad that my awakenings have always been so rough because I was on my lap dog behavior, and that was not doing anything for me or for anyone. All I was doing was lying and betraying myself and betraying other people when my inevitable real nature would jump out. So, if any part of my story has resonated with you thus far, you're probably a dragon woman. I talked about how the dragon path is one of self-consumption. Yeah, so the reason why reclaiming dominion and control and love with your inner dragon is important is because your emotions and your capacity to feel them and make use of them skillfully is the key to our collective sovereignty. Capitalism and honestly, fascism, dictatorship, cults, any form of authority that exists feeds off of you not being able to feel what your truth is. If you can't feel the truth of your body, you're easy to manipulate. If you can't listen properly to the stories that your brain is created so that you can tell that they're stories, you're easily dominated. Somebody with a more forceful story can come and impose it on you, and you'll be like, and that's a dangerous place to be. If you can't listen properly to your heart song, you can't build authentic relationships. Your sense of safety in your relationships is always just going to feel fragile. It's always just going to feel like it's this far away from you. And that's really like anxiety inducing to me personally. In order to reclaim our spiritual and actual human sovereignty from these authorities, we're going to have to build relationships and alliances that matter, that nourish our spirits, that will fight for us, that will share the burden of our survival. We need that. We can't do that with a mask on. You know who becomes irreplaceable? You know who becomes so precious and important that you'll do anything for them are the people who show you what they really are. If you want to be the deeply loved woman instead of the well-liked girl, you have to show people who you are, what you really are. You're gross. You're terrifying. You're incredibly unreliable. You're a liar, a thief, a manipulator. You're all of those things. You need to be okay with that. And you need to learn how to make that nature, that learned conditioned behavior, whatever it is, work for you and work in the best interests of your community and your relationships. It's the only way that you're really going to survive the next decade or so. Your relationship to your inner beast directly affects the quality and quantity of the relationships that you can build with other people. And a key to energetic sovereignty is that we are not one person in this world is going to become sovereign all by themselves. This is not, it is not going to work that way. The more we can reclaim control of our inner environment, the less we are controlled by external factors. Yeah, sometimes I have money. Sometimes I don't have money. Just because my finances seesaw as an entrepreneur doesn't mean my emotions have to seesaw with it. Doesn't mean that my self-worth has to seesaw with it. You see what I mean? Just because the government that I'm a citizen of happens to decide that sometimes I have a right to an abortion and maybe I kind of don't some other days. That shit does not apply to me. I know when I want something, I'm going to make it happen, whether it's here or not. You are not going to catch me asking daddy government for permission for what to do with my vessel. It's just not going to work for me. This is what I'm talking about. You become invincible when you walk with your dragon instead of your dragon constricting you and making your world very small. If you're just a princess in a tower, you're waiting for somebody to come do the hard work of loving you for you. You're waiting for your Prince Charming to break through, slay the dragon, and then get to you. But how demoralizing do you think it is for a prince to walk up to your tower and see the mythic fucking beast that stands between them and you? Do you know how demoralizing it is to a prince to be like, damn, like, I'm just trying to do something beautiful. I'm just trying to bring something beautiful, but I got all these projections, all these obstacles. It's just this beast is out of control. The chances are the dragon's going to slay the man before the man can slay the dragon, and that's just tea. Our relationships are preceded by our relationship to our inner dragon. And our collective sovereignty as a global humanity depends on that relationship with that inner dragon. If you have a healthy relationship with your inner dragon, what's going to happen is that you're unfuckwithable. You cannot be gaslighted or manipulated out of your own truth because you have learned to feel yourself, and you have learned to feel yourself with skill. You're not overwhelmed and collapsing under the weight of your powerful dragon. You're looking at your dragon in its eyes and you're saying, I hear you. I understand. Tell me what we need to do. And you graduate. You graduate from being a child into a spiritual initiate. A woman that has domesticated her dragon, the one that's inside, is the one that is marked for spiritual leadership. It cannot happen any other way. And spiritual leadership, being able to lead ourselves spiritually, non-circumstantially, meaning doesn't matter the situation that's in front of us, because our ability to lead ourselves through is unconditional. That is what will lead us to global humanity, sovereignty. That's what will lead us to becoming ungovernable. That's what will lead us to say, this is not working, and I'm willing to die destroying it. It is the thing that will help us identify what we will die for, so that safety isn't our goal anymore, but fulfillment, happiness, passion will become our default decision maker instead of fear. And the only parts of you that you'll have to sacrifice in this process are the parts of you that you borrowed. They don't belong to you. You picked up these things when you were a young dragon. When you were a young dragon and people made you feel bad for how big and strong and kind of clumsy you were with that power, you were like, well, maybe I'll just behave like a monkey. I think I can be a good monkey. I will be a good monkey. I have wings, and maybe I can be a bird. Maybe I don't have to be a dragon. Maybe I can just be a bird and I can sing a pretty song and everything will be okay. Maybe it was okay for a little while, but people are dying. We got to return to our nature, and we got to make our nature work for us instead of us trying to change our nature to fit to what we think life needs, to what we think we need to be in order to survive. Can't happen that way anymore, besties. It really can't. And another thing that the last thing actually that I want to bring up is how dragons have to be alone. Dragons have to be alone for a long time, because it is not until their heart song reaches a full level of maturity, of sovereignty, until they can powerfully project their voice, that is when the people who can hear it immediately start to come in. But when your voice is still unsure, when it still quakes a little bit when you speak, when you're expressing something vulnerable and you're still a little shallow on your breath and you're like, maybe, but no. Your relationships are, maybe I love her, but no. I conditionally love her. Or maybe I like her, but not enough to share with her. That's that wishy-washy. And that's not the pinnacle of your experience. You were here, you deserve more. You deserve more. So you have to master your dragon song, and you have to get brave enough to sing it. I don't like being on camera, yet here I am. I'm singing. I'm singing because it's important to me. It's important to me that you know that the next wave of your spiritual evolution is not out there. It's inside you. And everyone in the spiritual community is like, you have everything you need within, but nobody knows what the fuck that means. I do. I figured it out. I developed a specific system and roadmap that is fail-safe for you to be able to self-generate your own guidance, your own answers. And then all I did after that was give you a couple tools that I picked up along the way that can help integrate your revelations into actual physical experience. I think there's some. Andrea's here. She's a Dragon Woman Atelier graduate, first wave OG. She says, "I'm a graduate of the Dragon Woman Atelier. Highly recommend for anyone here who is interested. Every woman in the container experienced profound life transformation." Yes, they did. I watched women make lifestyle changes in 6 months with me that it took me 5 years to make. And I think about, no, not like halfway to the end of the program, I became terrified again. I became terrified again of my own power. I realized, I was like, oh, this is making a difference. The techniques that I'm showing people, the concepts that I'm not even initiating, I'm inviting their minds to play around with. It's making shit happen for them. Things that they've dreamt for a long time seem effortless now. They're not even trying that hard. But their dragon heart song is becoming clearer. And so the universe is responding. It's singing back. And it's finally singing the song that they've been wanting to hear. And I realized, as the leading lady of the Dragon Woman, I was like, oh, I cannot afford to play small anymore. I have this need to do everything in my power to bring these ancient feminine mysteries and technologies back into the mainstream, back into the hands of women where it always belonged and we were violently divorced from a long time ago. Just because we don't talk about the feminine mysteries, just because we don't remember what they are, just because Some form of ascension oriented practices think that spiritual, like feminine spirituality, is wrong. It doesn't mean that the feminine mysteries are not available to us. Just because people don't like them or ignore them or don't talk about them doesn't mean that they're not happening constantly. So the way I see it, you can either empower yourself by confronting the reality and being like, I don't have the skills to manage, I'm going to go get them. I don't have the awareness to know what to ask, because the feminine mysteries are mysterious in nature. So what am I going to do? I'm going to show up to the person who has something that I think I want. You can either do that or you can just stay clueless. But no matter what, whether you're aware of them or not, whether they're working for you or against you, the feminine mysteries are happening and they're right here in front of us. They're right here inside us. It's our privilege, our birthright, and our purpose to reclaim them and to bring our sovereignty back. And the sovereignty will not come through mentalism. Mentalism is not enough anymore. We think way too hard, we think way too fast, and we're not feeling ourselves anymore. And that's such a dangerous place to be. That's where cults thrive. And the entire US is a cult. Whiteness is a cult. Capitalism is a cult. So it's really difficult to unravel yourself from a cult when you were born in it. And I think the fastest way to do that is to untangle the voices inside you that are still speaking that were never yours. They're not organic to you. And if you don't know that the voices inside your head actually belong to you, how in the world are you going to make any meaningful contribution to our society when you don't know what voice to listen to? At best, you help someone out every now and then. But I'm talking about epic forward movement. I'm talking about you're a dragon woman. You have the potential to lead thousands of people. You're just held back by echoes of the past. If we can unravel that, nobody gets to dictate what your limits are. Nobody gets to dictate what you feel. Nobody gets to decide the thoughts that are okay to feel, or the thoughts that are okay to think, and the thoughts that are not okay to think. You become a sovereign person. And a sovereign person can either lead others to sovereignty or can just start working with people already in their power. So I won't lie to you and say that the Dragon Woman Atelier is easy. But it's worth it. You're going to suffer either way. At least in the Dragon Woman Atelier, you're suffering with a purpose. You're suffering in a way that conveys that you will not repeat the same loops again, because you're untangling them at the root. And the root may not be what you expect. But yeah, at the end of the day, the Dragon Woman Atelier was born from anger. It was born from a sacred reclamation of anger. And when I think about it that way, and I think about how embracing and building trust with my inner violence, when I think of all those things put together, I can sit here in front of you and I can repeat the exact same statement that I did earlier this year at the spring equinox. I looked at the fire and I said, God, if I were you, I would have chosen me too. I would have chosen me too. And I'm not afraid anymore. I'm not as committed to playing small and shrinking myself as I am committed to embracing the bigness of a dragon. I'm going to do what it takes to take this Dragon Woman Atelier to the next level. If you can get in early, I would advise you to. Because this is going to inevitably become my legacy on this earth. I will die and I will be remembered for the Dragon Woman Atelier. It is my dragon heart song. And I hope that this video is reaching a deep level of resonance inside you. Maybe somewhere deep down, you believe you were meant to make bold moves too. Maybe somewhere deep down, you want to be the radiant woman that turns eyes every time she walks into a space. Maybe you want to be the deeply loved woman that's easy to love, that people will fight for, that people will show up and protect. Not because she's a great person and because she's easy, but because she's unique. If we lose her, we're never going to find another one like her. And if you're the kind of romantic girl that has always wanted that kind of ancient, prolific love that just changes everything about your world, that relationship, it's with your dragon. It can be with other people, but the quality of your life-changing relationships is rooted in you changing the relationship with your inner dragon. And I want that for you. I really do. I went from, oh, I'm going to die alone, and I was like embarrassingly desperate for love, to literally having very perfectly capable soulmates just manifesting all the time. I literally just went eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Like, there were so many. And every single one was committed to making sure that I was okay, to making sure that I was the one that they were making happy. Why? Because they're never going to find someone like me, because I'm not easy to love. All I did was rob these people of their mental peace. I really did. I would just be like, "Oh, love that you're comfortable. Anyway, not anymore." And they'll die. They'll die for it. Why? Because it's the same reason I would die for you. When you show me what your heart song is, when I hear the deep resonance of your truth for the first time, even if your voice quakes a little bit, I can't help but feel like I will never get to see that ever again. It's such a it's such a profound thing to be deeply loved for who you are, because you have the skill to show people who you are, because you have the awareness to know exactly what your nature is, and you live according to that nature instead of betraying your nature to live the way you think other people want you to live, or the way that you think is the only way to live. You become precious and important and irreplaceable because of who you are, not because of what you do. And that's what I want to bring to women. I want to bring them the skills that it takes to, first, in the first 30 days of the Dragon Woman Atelier, I give you the skills to integrate, to self source your information, to build a relationship with your dragon, and to embody it. That's the first, because the rest of the atelier is not going to make sense to you if we don't start with how to make it real. If we don't start with resensitizing yourself to your own body, to your own truth. Because you can be as smart as you want to be up here, but if you're not sensually smart, you're only operating with half of your feminine energy. You're only operating at half battery. How far can you get with half of your battery? What if you could always be at 100%? In the 3-month container, what I do is we tackle common blocks. We tackle common debilitating life challenges that were tragic, and we have to admit that they changed us, but they don't have to dictate our future anymore. We talk about unworthiness. We zero in on reparenting ourselves, becoming the divine mother, becoming the divine father, um, repairing our relationship with masculine energy. And I'm not talking about just inner masculine. I mean, like, go out there and know how to talk to men. Like, literally. We tackle a lot of world problems, I would call it. We tackle a lot of real, valid, profound human experiences that shape us. And we do that so that those experiences don't continue to inform our future. That's why we look at them. That's why we confront them. And I teach you the step-by-step approaches, the skills. I lead you through exercises. But more than that, I lead you through example. I'll show you what it looks like to make those decisions. And then the 6 months in container, I just let it all hang out. I just go crazy. Andrea can tell you, she just graduated the 6 month container. And we went through some high advanced level esoteric energy work that's very specific to feminine energy. It is quite literally learning how to make your emotions work for you instead of you working for them. It is the ancient secret practice of making sure that you are using your creativity, and your creativity isn't using you. It's not using your relationships and your job as an arena for playing out its stories. It's taking back control in the most subtle realms so that you can create big material results. Andrea's talking about last week, I manifested love without even leaving my house. Literally, my plumber is trying to date me after he fixed my sink. Like, listen, Andrea's right here. She's not being paid to plug or anything. This is just what happens. And Andrea, does that feel like a miracle to you? Or are you just kind of like, as he should? I help you normalize receiving. I help you normalize feeling like you're God's gift to the earth. I help you normalize feeling like the most beautiful person in the space. I help you normalize being the most powerful and influential space in any room that you walk into. I normalize that feeling. You're not impressed by it anymore. Dragon women are very difficult to impress because we live a really high quality life inside ourselves. Our emotional landscape is so rich that money doesn't really impress us. Money doesn't scare us like it used to. We have such an emotionally rich experience that having fun, being awesome and adored is a normal experience. It's normalized. It's both as he should and it's a miracle. Miracles are my everyday reality now. Exactly. Miracles are an everyday reality. Your emotional energy, your emotional richness, when it's not stuck and blocked, it can be used to create miracles for you. By the time I walk into the room, my energy has preceded me. People have felt me arrive before I actually text them, I'm here. I was actually having a conversation with a friend yesterday about this. He was like, I can feel when you get here because there's just this warmth that radiates and is just like whoosh, Um, and that's not exclusive to me. It's just not. That the only difference between the you that you are now and the you that you want to be is learning a couple of skills, very specific. Oh, John, he's here. Oh, John, I was just talking to John is the one that I was talking to yesterday about this. The only difference between you right now and the you want to be is a couple of skills that are not difficult to implement, some expansive mindset shifts, but a lot of audacity. A lot of audacity. You got to get comfortable with being boisterous and audacious because you're a dragon woman. You playing small, that's just not God's mission for you, babe. Let's see. I love that. When are you going to close your Akashic Records transmediumship readings? I remember saying you were going to close them at some point. Yes, I will be closing them on the last day of the year. Because the Dragon Woman broke my heart open, because Palestine broke my heart open, I am no longer interested in in making myself available to one-off readings. I just don't. There's a lot of Akashic Records practitioners, some of them that I've personally trained and really believe in, that um, that can help you with that. I want to work with people. I want to invest my energy in people long term. I want to invest in people that know that they're meant to be somebody important, that they're meant to lead, that they are meant to make bold moves, that they know that they are the chosen one to break generational patterns in this lifetime. They're not waiting for the next one. They're not being chill about it. They are being super intense. They are taking classes. They are reading books. They are going to therapy. Those are the people that I really want to pass on the skills that I've learned, and I also want to just invest my emotional energy into. I just want to make myself available to them. And so with one-time readings, it's really difficult to do that. One Akashic Records reading is enough to change your life. But there's a lot of people that I know that I could refer you to that can help you with that. What's more important to me now is offering my Akashic services in a more long-term way, whether it's a mentorship or if you get my trance mediumship sessions will still be available as bundles. So instead of getting one, you'll get 3 or you'll get 6 of them. And it just makes more sense because then I'll be able to work with you more deeply, and you won't be lost in the sauce all alone trying to figure out how to implement this wisdom. Like, I'll be there and I'll follow up with you, and if you get stuck, we'll figure it out. But that's where I'm at right now, is I really want to step up into becoming a mentor and serving the collective in that way. The Dragon Woman Atelier is inevitably going to become my legacy on this earth. I love her. I love everything she's done for the women who just graduated. I'm already excited for the women that are entering it now through our initiation call. And I will honor my relationship with the Akashic Records, because if it weren't for them and all of the things that they helped me unbecome, all of the things that they helped me unlearn, I would not have made it to my heart song. So my Akashic mentorships and skills will not be going to waste. They'll be around. They will just be more long-term based. That's it. It'll just be a more deep level of work. And I'm excited for that, for whoever feels like that's something that they value. Permanently, when are you going to be doing them again? Are you going to close them permanently? I don't know yet. I don't know. I don't know. That's the best answer. And I know that's not really a good answer, but it's the one I have right now. I don't know yet. All I know is that right now I'm deeply focused on mentorships. Something that may be cool. It's in the works. I haven't figured it out all the way yet, but something that may be cool to consider if you're into the trance mediumship readings is getting a bundle. So you can get, 3 readings at a time, spread them out once a month, whatever. You can get the 6 bundle. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the Akashic Records Level 1 class where you learn to channel your Akashic Records. I'm going to make that available as a more like passive, like replay thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite graduates of the Level 1 program to enroll in a mentorship with me that's going to be about 3 months long, where I teach you exactly how to make the best of the Akashic Records for your own self-development. I'll teach you the same questions that I asked that led me to some of my biggest breakthroughs. If you get stuck and you're like, what the fuck do I do with this information? I'll be there and I'll help you figure it out. So yeah, that may be something you want to look into. I'm still figuring out the details of how that's going to work and stuff, but hey, like, you guys are here so we can talk about it. But yes, the Dragon Woman Atelier. Thank you for following me all the way to YouTube so that I could talk about this today. Um, it was spontaneous. I hope that it all clicked. I've been working with Dragon since 2019, almost as long as I've been working with the records. And I feel good. I feel good and I feel grounded in what my role is in this spiritual space. And I'm really hoping that this video will find women who get it, who get me, and whose heart has been looking for the right song to listen to. And I'm opening my heart to welcome women that I'll be able to love for a really long time. Because the women who end up in the Dragon Woman Atelier, they become friends. They become irreplaceable to me. They become precious. They become like, I love them. I'm never going to see another Andrea ever. And it's because she's unfolded so beautifully. I'm never going to meet another Yvonne. And it's because she's been brave enough to bear herself. And it's really cool. It's really important to me that that's where I'm at on my journey. If any of this part resonated with you, I really hope that you'll join the initiation call. We have one coming up on the 2nd. We have one coming up on the 22nd. And then our first official Dragon Woman Atelier call for everyone that enrolls will be on January 11th of next year. So I'm excited to just welcome in a new kind of woman, to just welcome in the change makers, like the walk the talk. You know what I mean? Let's see. Can I email you to ask for some recommendations for the trance mediumship reading that you strongly trust? I only trust you in your opinion. It's expensive and I was saving up for it, and the idea of getting the bundle just so much financially for me. Ooh, I'll do the 22nd. Yeah, email me and let's see what we can do. We'll figure it out. Like, it's okay. The thing about the Akashic Records, you don't have to force it. It doesn't have to you don't have to get to a point where you're uncomfortable spending money on it. The Akashic Records will call you themselves. When it becomes real and it becomes urgent and it becomes important. Michaela's a practitioner. John graduated the Akashic Records Level 1 class. They'll tell you. It's a thing. They'll ring you. So yeah, email me, relax. We'll get you taken care of. If you're saving up for January, I'm not rigid. Maybe we can make it happen. But yeah, nothing has to be hard. Nothing has to feel urgent. Nothing has to feel uncomfortable. That's not at all what this is about. So just because I'm closing my one-off readings doesn't mean I'm dead to you. They'll snatch you up. So they'll snatch you up. Yeah, they will snatch you up. Meet trauma. I'm like, yes. Very true. I also got called by the Akashic Records to work more closely with them. Yay. I just love that I went from feeling alone in my experiences. I went from feeling crazy. I went from feeling like I didn't belong here to feeling like I made a space for me to exist. I'm very proud that I did not wait for anyone to just decide to give me a space. Like, I made one, and I'm really happy that people like you guys are filling that space. It's something I've always dreamed, and my dreams are coming true through you every day. So I don't take it for granted that you trust me with your Akashic journey. I don't take it for granted that you're here listening to my story and the wild things that happened to me. that I get to assign meaning to and then turn it into a universal sort of wisdom. Um, I was tripping in the Dragon Woman Atelier when we all said we have the power to manipulate weather. I was so happy people understood when I said I could create rainbows. That only sounds crazy until you pick up the skills to do it on command. Thank you for bringing that up, Andrea. These are the kinds of miracles that are happening in the Dragon Woman Atelier. Not because I'm special and I'm super ultra mega skilled, because you're special. And this was always supposed to be the level of sovereignty and mastery that is available to human beings. Oh my God, me too. I live. This is why we have to talk about the crazy things that happen to us. This is why we have to sing our heart song. If we keep our miracles to ourselves and the crazy things that happen to us to ourselves, we're not going to be able to emanate that heart song so that we can find other dragons. The whole point of repairing the relationship with the dragon inside us is so that we can come into harmonious song and music with the rest of the dragons that are here, the ones that are spiritual and that are higher manifestations of archangel energy, but also the ones inside us of our own making. What connects us to God is that dragon. We cannot connect to our real creative energy, to our real source, without making it through that dragon first. And it's a very vulnerable process, but lucky for you, you don't have to do it alone anymore. I got you. I mean, you're still going to do the work. They're like, my hands are tied in that, I can't sugarcoat that process for you, but I can definitely hold the space, and I can make sure that you're always safe and that you're always moving at a degree that feels comfortable and that feels naturally, organically gradual. Like you're just slowly but consistently growing into yourself. I don't intend to just smack people with intense levels of information. We build our way up. And you can choose your level of transformation at the end of the day. Our 30-day Dragon Woman container is about strategy. You're like, I like learning alone. I don't care. I just need to know the practices that you do every day to get to where you are. That's all I need. I just need your daily, everyday solutions. And then I got this. I got the rest of it. I respect the hell out of that. So I'm like, I will absolutely give you the integration tools and the self-inquiry exercises and call it a day. The 3-month container, we tackle on some more complex stuff. We do a lot of unlearning in the 3-month container. And then the 6-month container, everything that we unlearn, we replace with new technologies, high-level spiritual occult practices, and feminine technologies that, man, they're secret for a reason. I'll tell you that much, because they're powerful and they make a very fast difference in your life and in everyone that is connected to you. The things that felt far away from you, you realize are only that way because you weren't singing your heart song. You were still singing someone else's heart song. Maybe not even their heart song. You were singing their trauma song, girl. Like you were just like, you were just off rhythm. It was not a cute song. It was incohesive. It just sounded like a bunch of mumbo jumbo. There was like random instruments in there that did not make sense. But all of that goes away. All of that goes away when you become cohesive on the inside, and when your inner dragon is your bestie. It's not your warden anymore. It's not the thing keeping you and your life imprisoned. Nah. It's your vehicle. It's your driver. It's your bodyguard. It's your boyfriend. It's the protection you always wanted from someone. It's the mom you always wanted from someone. It's the encouragement you always wanted from someone. It's the magic. It's the miracles. It's the love that you knew you wanted, but maybe you thought was impossible. It's there. So I'll leave it on that note. In the description of this video, you'll see the link to learn more about the Dragon Woman Atelier and how it all works. This was really just me telling you the story in case I die. This is just me telling you the story of how I got here. And it was through sound. The more I listened and trained myself to listen with skill, the more I was able to discriminate between the voices inside me, the more I was able to accept voices that were coming through me that were not my own. Everything at the end of the day had to do with my heart and the ability to express it. Everything changed in my life for me, and I'm happy with who I am. I think I've made it to a point where I genuinely like the person that I've become. And I think she's great, and I would die for her. I would do anything to make sure that she's okay. Um, and I sincerely want all women to remember that that's our natural state of being. Our natural state of being is magnetism because we're self-sufficient. It's magnetism because we're vulnerable in an empowered way. We're vulnerable without collapsing. We're vulnerable with dignity. And we are surrendered with skill. We're surrendered powerfully. We're not just laying there and taking it. You know what I mean? We're not laying there and taking it. We're laying there and really receiving. We're receiving it deep and long and hard and fast, and we just never, there's no end to how much we want it. Just the level, like a woman satisfied is not the tea. Like it's just never gonna happen. And I want you to know that kind of pleasure for yourself. I know I got a little like flirty towards the end, but like that's just the vibe. I'm gonna leave you guys on that note. Thank you so much for joining me and for listening to my story. I tried to really summarize it. It doesn't sound as intense when I talk about it as when I lived it, but I'm very proud. I'm very proud of the Dragon Woman Atelier, and if you've enjoyed my Akashic Records readings, if you have connected with me for Akashic related trainings of any kind, and you feel like you've really gained a lot of value from those containers, you're going to want to see me in the Dragon Woman Atelier, because I really feel that's where my heart rises, and I really feel that's my dragon song. I feel like the Akashic Records just finally let me off the leash, and now there's no limit to the impact that I can make. It's not determined by anyone except me and my ability to express what's in my heart. So I invite you to experience that with me and see what kind of breakthroughs that inspires. I love you. I hope all of you are somewhere safe and warm, somewhere that you feel comfortable and happy. And as you rest tonight, I hope you connect with your dragon. If there's a part of you that wants that experience, I hope your dragon allows you to see it or to hear it. I think it'll really reveal a lot of your weaknesses and your potentials. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I love you. Feel free to send me an email if you have any questions about any readings that may or may not be going away. I know I haven't really spoken too much about it, but I will be making it clear as clarity comes to me. And any questions about the Dragon Woman Atelier, what's in it, how to get started, how to determine whether it's right for you or not, shoot me an email, shoot me a DM on Instagram. And I want to reiterate, just because Akashic Records readings one-on-one are going away doesn't mean that readings aren't available. It just means it'll be more than one. And it also means that you'll probably get an opportunity to experience some really awesome practitioners that I've trained and build a different relationship with the records through them. It'll be really cool. You'll get to be a part of their purpose. Also, just because readings are going away does not mean I am dead to you. Remember, Supporting you in your spiritual sovereignty and evolution is my passion. If you have a question, message me. It's okay. I will answer it. It'll be all right. If it's something super ultra mega expensive, throw me a tip, buy me a coffee, and we'll call it a day. I'm not dead to you. I'm not going to go away forever. It'll be okay. Um, I'm just looking to expand. That's it. I'm just looking to expand. And that's what this is all about at the end of the day. So, based on that note, I'm not dead to anyone. In fact, I'm coming alive more than ever in just a different way than before. So, have an amazing night. Thank you again for being here. And I'll see you in the new year. All right. Bye, y'all.